Hello, and thanks for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about the three keys to choosing your marketing. Now, if you've been advertising for any amount of time, you know that some of your marketing is working and some of it is not. And so, we want to talk a little bit more about how to choose the right marketing for you and your business. I want to go off of this basic premise, though, which is number one, that if you had the best practices, that are commonly used and are successful in marketing, and if you were to implement those best practices and you could improve by only just 10%, what would the result be? Maybe you can improve more. Hopefully you could. But we're able to find out what's working and, most importantly, what's not working, so you can avoid those mediums, you can avoid those techniques at all costs. First off, let's talk about the need for marketing, because if you're like me, you don't wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, let's go out and market. Let's go out and advertise." If you can remember back in Psychology 101, a psychiatrist was spoken of named Abraham Maslow. Now, Maslow spoke of there being or there being different levels and needs of a hierarchy of needs, which basically said you need food, air, and water before you need shelter and clothing, before you need to feel good about yourself, or what he termed self-actualization. Your business has needs as well, and it has a hierarchy of needs that one comes before the other. The very first thing that you need in your business is marketing, because simply said, without marketing, nobody knows that you're there. If they don't know about you, it means that they cannot buy from you. You can't even be a choice. Now, just because they know about you doesn't mean that they're going to buy from you automatically, because let's presume that you have competition like just about everybody does. So you need to be able to persuade them. And then after that comes the fulfillment stage, or where you get the contract where your client signs with you. Now, the fun part is that these two points of your business are the profit centers. This is where money is made. Everything else is an expense. And so when we focus on these 2 points and getting better at them, you're going to get more fulfillment. You're going to get more contracts. You're going to get more clients. Now, again, marketing may be one of the hardest parts of being a business owner. We've all had money that we've spent that didn't work out. I could tell you stories upon stories where I just sat and shook my head at things that I've spent huge amount, thousands of dollars of money towards advertising that did not work out. And we know that we need it. That's the conundrum. We know that we need to have marketing out there that's effective. We can't just stick our head in the sand and ignore it. And on the other side of that, we hate to think about throwing good money after bad. So let's first talk about what's your goal. When it comes to marketing, most people say that they want to either A, get sales, B, get the word out, or C, brand their business, do some form of branding. And those are all well and good intentions, but I'm going to ask you to set them aside. I want you to focus on just one thing, and that one thing is I want you to work on conversion. I want you to convert them from one step to the next. Now, in our brides buying process, you can look and see how many annual brides are in your area each year, and then how many of them are truly prospective. In other words, how many of them are going to buy what you sell to the level of what you sell it. Now, what divides these two groupings is their priority. Some brides absolutely love and need and will not go forward without what you sell in their wedding. Other brides, they don't care so much. So if they have a high priority for it, that's what takes them into the next stage of the process. The first thing that they're going to do is a specific search. They're going to search up and down the category for you, your competitors, and they're going to see who they like. Next, after that, they're going to contact. Now, in this communication stage, this is where they will email or phone typically. And then after that, then they come in for a face-to-face appointment. Again, typically, not this doesn't apply across the board to everybody, because in some markets, of course, it's destination, or brides are away at college and they're going to do a lot of stuff over the phone. Then they sign up with you, and then after that, they become customers for life. The problem with most marketing that I see out there now, I pick up the wedding magazines when I travel to different cities. I look at websites, I look at bridal shows, is people try to skip those steps. And the problem is that by skipping those steps, we become rather salesy and we don't build trust. So we need to go ahead and try to take her step by step, holding her hand each way along the way to where we get her to go where we want to go. Now, it doesn't mean that we're manipulating or we're pushing her there, because if she can't go, she won't go to the next step. But we're taking her in a trust filled manner to help her to buy what we sell more so than most people are. And again, by mastering these steps, by mastering movement of these steps, you're going to get more clients to go further in the process, which means you're going to get more contracts at the end of the year. Now, it's hard to choose what's out there and to choose what's going to be effective for us. Let me set up some standards before we even think about choosing. Number one, I want you to measure everything, but measure effectively. Now, I've said this before, you can measure 1,000 things in your business, but I want you to measure three things related to your marketing and selling to brides. Number one, what makes your phone ring? Now, this is not, you can't just ask the bride this question, how'd you find out about us? Because she's not paying attention. You've got to implement the right systems and strategies that will help her to tell you where she came from or help you to be able to investigate where she came from. Number two, how many of those phone calls are you able to convert into appointments, into the face to face that we spoke of? Because you know as well as I that more appointments equals more sales, because they get to know you, they get to see you, and they get to trust you. And then the third thing is, how many of those appointments do you convert into the sales? When you can measure these three things very effectively, then you're going to be able to focus on the areas that are perhaps broken and not working so well. I also want you to start with the outcome in mind. And before you put an ad out there, if you start thinking about what kind of outcome you want to have, you're going to be choosing a little bit differently than if you were to just start throwing money at advertising. A small business standard is you spend 7% of the outcome that you want to achieve. The wedding industry, you got to spend a little bit more because these brides are confused, they're overwhelmed, they're not paying attention, and they're all over the board with things. Now, I don't want you to just think that, okay, Rick, well, that's easy for you to start telling me to throw all my money away at it. And I'm not saying that, because of the fact that most of my techniques and most of my strategies, in fact, the most effective ones, cost the least. You can put a lot of sweat equity into your business by just rolling up your sleeves and doing some good work and getting better at these steps of building trust. In the wedding industry is unique in that we can use sweat equity in our marketing more so than most other industries. For example, if you're a restaurant owner, there's no way that you can stand outside and hand out flyers all day long to try to get clients in. You've got to run your restaurant, you've got to cook the food, you've got to do all the other logistical things. But the wedding industry is different and unique in that it allows you to use that sweat equity. Now, look at these four areas of marketing before you go forward with your marketing strategy. Form your strategy based on this. Number one, you want to look at everything that's online. Number two, divide it up into another section of offline stuff. Then I want you to look at your word of mouth strategy, and that's a big piece of the pie for you, and your investment strategy. You need to keep on working on certain things that may not have effect 6 months, 8 months down the road, such as SEO or perhaps building relationships with people. And when you're looking at everything online, we're talking all things internet, whether it be your ad on a conglomerate site or your own website. I want you to spend 50% of your energy and effort of your marketing online, because that's the first place that they go. Second to that, looking at everything offline, bridal shows, print, postcards. Third, you get word of mouth from two sources: other vendors who will speak on your behalf, who have brides, have built trust with them, or satisfied clients in the past, and that's known as proof of concept. That social proof that you use out there, and you can mine through those two areas. And then again, the investment is things that take months to start, but that take months but need to start now. Also, I want you to avoid these common traps of marketing. Number one, don't be salesy. Don't Don't go too far in the process. Don't offer discounts when you haven't even met them. Offer them to move, to get to where you want to. Give them an incentive. That's a little bit different than offering to buy. And then I want you to avoid the stereotypes. Like, for example, there's a stereotype out there that print is dead. And I don't believe that, because of the fact that if print is dead, then you probably wouldn't mind if the local wedding magazine did a rip piece on you that they just totally tore you to shreds. And if print is dead, then you probably wouldn't take an ad from them even if they offered it. And we know that both of those are true. That most people would take the free ad and they would sue them if they did do that hit piece on them. So avoid the stereotypes. Types. Listen to everybody, but don't get oversold on people either. And then the three keys I'm talking about in picking your marketing. Key number one: what works for you in your style. Well, this is so overlooked. For example, if you don't have a great personality, no way I want you to worry about doing too many bridal shows. On the other side of that, just because you're not technologically savvy doesn't mean that you should ignore your website. We need to figure out what works for you in your style and make it work for you in your marketing. Key number two: peer review. You can get so much great information from people who have bought what you're about to buy, but you've got to be careful. There's a couple of traps that you got to be careful of. That number one, you've got to assess: are they a smart business person? Are they a negative or a positive person? And are they self-driven? In other words, are they going to be doing something that's only? Are they going to give you advice based on only their own interests, or are they going to give you advice based on, no, I want you to succeed? You know who the good business people are, and you know what you admire about them. So even if you don't see them out there, you can typically form a trail about where they're at. And then key number three, I want you to look at the price. Now, I'm not saying don't look at price like brides look at price like what's your price. I want you to look at what you're going to get out of it and look at the end result. For example, you wouldn't mind spending $10,000 on advertising if it gave you a $1 million result. On the far side of that, you probably would mind spending $300 on something that gave you zero result. So you need to look at what's the result going to be, and then again, going back to measuring. We've got to measure everything that we do. So those are the three keys, and some good advice on how to check out our marketing, how to pick it, and how to form a strategy that's a little bit more than just being sold of who comes in to try to sell us. Now, if you're looking at taking your marketing up to the next level, if you're serious about your business for this year and you want to find the best practices, look at the offer that I have below. Click on the link and check it out, and hopefully we'll be able to work in the future. Thanks for joining us today.